To say it was the worst thing ever wouldn't even come close. It genuinely didn't feel real. My brain literally stopped working. The same problems I had my whole life got amplified times 100. I got diagnosed with the entire alphabet, bruv. PTSD, OCD, bipolar, ADHD, which by the way are all fully curable and don't even exist in the way that you've been convinced they do.
It's mainly gangster therapy.
Yo, trauma is a very real thing, and it's not something you can just mindset your way through, bruh. David Goggins your way through the trauma. What it is a biological response where you've experienced something that was so shocking and you didn't know how to handle it. Your brain doesn't filter the experience into its long-term memory, and it keeps it on the forefront of your mind to protect you and say, wow, when we experienced that thing, it was so grotesque in nature, it was so horrible at an emotional level, we can't afford to ever be caught out by that again. So we're going to keep it in our conscious mind instead of sending it to the subconscious mind. In a nutshell, that's what it is, right? To overcome it, understand its nature and accept it. Don't feel guilty about it. Don't feel fearful about it. Don't have any type of emotional judgment of it. Just disconnect from it and look at it objectively for what it is. You went through this thing for whatever reason. You don't need to justify it. It's just there. You weren't able, which is not your fault, to process it healthily according to the rules of biology, which is even right now as you're watching this, as you're going through the world, you're experiencing like kilobytes of data all the time. Every moment is getting filtered. You're just a computer that's filtering stuff, and your brain's making rapid decisions. Which of these experiences are worth storing consciously versus sending to the back subconsciously? And there's a really interesting theory in psychology, which is you never actually forget anything, which is why you might be familiar with light bulb memories, which is really random memories that don't serve any obvious purpose. It could be like a car ride when you were 3 years old and you just remember seeing someone standing at a bus stop in a yellow coat, and you remember it like it was yesterday and it might have been 40 years ago. And you're just like, what the fuck? Why do I know that so well? Like, people have those. So memory is a fascinating thing, and trauma can be more easily understood when you realize you don't actually ever forget anything. And it's more about what is the priority of memory? What does your brain decide is the priority of memory? And it's you now taking control over going, actually, I'm deciding to refilter my memory and put this particular experience, which happens to be traumatic, into a more long-term storage place so it doesn't affect me anymore. And you can only do that through physical remodeling combined with mental remodeling, which is why talking about it is not good, and it's actually can make it a lot worse, because when you talk about it, you evoke the memory, you get the physical sensations, you get the shallow breathing, the sweating, the sympathetic nervous system activation, because that's what trauma is. It's an elevated fight-flight response where you're either in fight or flight.
P.S. There is a spectrum to trauma. Most people are actually very functional, and they only have trauma responses in one particular realm of endeavor or experience. So it could be you have a completely normal work balance, social balance, daily routine is completely fine, except for when you get behind the wheel of a car and you start driving because you had a car crash and you're still traumatized from it. On the other end of the spectrum, there are people that are so traumatized that they're completely dysfunctional and they need a lot more care. So there is a spectrum here. Understand that.
And your sympathetic system takes over instead of your parasympathetic. Generally speaking, for most civilians and normal people just living a civilian life, you want to be in parasympathetic activation, so rest and digest, where you're using your prefrontal cortex to make good executive functioning decisions versus your emotional reactive center of your brain, where you're making quick snap decisions in your lizard brain. You're relying more on fight or run away. And it's not that one part of your brain is better than the other, it's just they have different functions. But what happens when you get traumatized or you go through something traumatic and you don't process it properly and you get PTSD is the part of your brain activates which you don't want. It's the inefficient one. It's the inappropriate one, I should say. So it's just using inappropriate neurology at inappropriate times in inappropriate context. So a typical example is a soldier when he comes back from a battlefield and he's just in a high street and he hears a loud noise. He might like jump under a table. Like, clearly that's an inappropriate reaction because he's not in danger in a high street in England compared to Afghanistan. But his brain doesn't know the difference, which is why he behaves like that. And then that creates secondary trauma like guilt and shame, going, fuck, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just be normal? And no one understands him. And then those social implications then create further problems, which leads to the alcoholism, the numbing, the feeling of disconnect, and you spiral into feeling depleted nutritionally. You don't get the right human connection. You feel isolated, which is the worst punishment a human can go through. So you can apply this to anything though. It doesn't have to be something as severe as fighting in a war or seeing people die or any of this stuff. It could literally be like you told your mum you love her when you were 10 and she didn't hear you and she literally walked out the door, and that created a sense of abandonment.
Ha! Gay!
which it might literally still linger in you today as a man, and it's affecting your relationships. Like, you could technically label that as trauma.
If something's genuinely holding you back, then yeah, get it addressed. But also ask yourself, am I being a bit of a pussy, and can I just laugh it off and get on with life? Because again, there's a spectrum. One hand, you've got snowflakes. You've got these retards that just wear trauma as their identity and just talk about it because they've got nothing else to get on with. And I can't function without my medication and therapy every 5 seconds. Just stop being a pussy and get on with living. On the other hand of the spectrum, people who are unwilling to confront the fact that actually there is a problem and they should, take some action to heal themselves. But those people are too busy denying it by either self-depreciating so much that they don't actually have a fulfilling life and they just see everything as miserable without accepting that actually there's a root cause for it. Or similarly, sociopaths, people that just refuse to look inwards and just blame everyone else and just parasitically eat off of the world as a self-defense mechanism because they've got a very hurt ego, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So there is a spectrum. Ask yourself, where's the balance here?
So the first step is unattaching from judgment of it. It's okay if you went through that and that's actually creating you a problem in your life and it's manifesting through romantic relationships where you don't trust your girl or you need too much attention from her and she's saying you're overbearing, and maybe you start self-destructing and you subconsciously start self-sabotaging, and then it's justifying that feeling of not feeling loved. Like, there's so many different ways this can manifest. Don't judge it, just accept it happens, and that's fine. Like, most people have something that is kind of eating at them and it keeps them up at night. And if you do deep meditation or you take psychedelics or something like that, not suggesting you go and do that straight away, you'll notice there's probably some niggling thing, like some memory, something that gives you, when you think about it or you get triggered to think about it, it gives you a somatic, which means like a physical bodily sensation, a response which isn't pleasant, and it takes you out of the present moment and back into that moment, which causes you a disconnect with reality, which then the more this happens and the longer you leave it unaddressed, it leads to negative outcomes, relationships, business. It could be with money, it could be anything. You might have seen your mum and dad just fighting growing up over money so much you don't feel like you're worthy of accepting money. It could be so many different ways that this manifests. Anything that gives you anxiety and that sympathetic nervous activation is a traumatic response, and it's up to you to repattern it. So first is unattach. Second, move your body and understand this is about physically reprocessing. Talking about it's just going to make it worse. It's going to make you remember it without actually processing it. So second is trauma has to be physically, somatically processed through the body. Energy in motion, emotion. So when the energy gets stuck in motion and you can't breathe and you catch your breath, and now you can't breathe, oh fuck. It's literally going into your muscles. That's what people like. Stress at work and at home and stuff is a minor form of it. When you get tense shoulders and people's shoulders all get all tense, or their hips stiffen up and their posture bends over and they can't move their body properly, or they get fucking cancer or some inflammatory disease. Leaky gut is another one because of the cortisol response from sympathetic activation. It destroys the villi in the small intestine, so now you got fucking inflammation in your body, hives, joint problems, brain fog, like too much histamine, can't remember stuff. Like, it just has so many cascading biological effects. So therefore you have to unblock it physically, which is why Reiki, deep tissue massage, movement, exercise, and then specific trauma modalities like EMDR, basically stimulating the left and the right brain as you speak and live through that trauma experience in a safe space, in a safe environment, and you get a qualified therapist that literally reprocess it. And there's scans that have been done on MRI in the brain where you can see how the brain lights up when living a traumatic experience. And then after you do this repatterning work, this left and right tapping of the body, it could be with the eye where you watch something moving like that. It could be you tap the body. It could be you get a slight electrical stimulation. You've got inner child work as well, where you do deep guided meditations to just go back and connect to the little kid that got hurt if it was a little kid moment. It can be psychedelics are really powerful as well. It could be, but again, this all has to be done professionally and like with intention, not just fucking randomly tripping out in like a crack den somewhere with other people that are also traumatized and no one's like actually really trying to do anything positive. Like, you want to do it in professional settings. Another one is just becoming aware, journaling, writing down, oh shit, I'm noticing these patterns, I'm now aware of what's going on. Honestly, acceptance of trauma, the ability to, and the courage and the self-love to just say, hey, this is happening, I'm noticing I'm getting a physical reaction because I'm getting triggered for this reason. I want to improve this. Let me write this down. Let me investigate why this is happening. Maybe we've got AI today. I'm not even joking. Like, this is what AI is actually useful for. You can then go and research it and go, I've noticed this is happening. What do you suggest I do about it? You can reach out and talk to qualified people who are not just going to rape your wallet and your life force by making it worse by just talking about it, but people that are actually going to give you real quantifiable solutions. So this is how you overcome trauma as well. It's not just by talking on it on a couch for like a year and not actually making any progress, but through intentional action-based modalities, which shouldn't take that long. Like, a good practitioner will say to you, okay, we're going to do 10 sessions. Here's generally what's going to happen. This is the outcome that I want. A good therapist, a good coach, in my opinion, is always going to plan for an outcome. They're not going to go, yo, so my monthly retainer is this and we'll just see what happens. Nah, that's a grifter. Fuck those people. They're parasites. Therapists, the rapists, that's what those guys do. Whereas actual people that will change your life is they need to be experienced as well.
And have integrity.
Genuinely, like find people with experience, and also someone that you feel that you can just trust with experience that has good social proof, and just say to them, all right, within 10 sessions, what should I expect? What support are you going to give me outside of this? Do you get what I'm saying? So those are some ways that you can overcome it that I think are really, really powerful. And also understand there's a fine line between misery loves company and just talking to other traumatized people and being obsessed with your trauma and going, oh, this is my identity, I'm so traumatized, so are you, let's all feel good together. And that is okay occasionally if you want to feel connection, because like I said, isolation is a bad thing where you feel you're the only one going through it, and that's what leads to people suiciding and stuff. So yes, understand it's not just you. Yes, connect to a support group, but also, like I said, the balance between a support group and feeling heard and connecting to others that get it and get you and can make you feel like you're not alone with action. Navigate that balance is very, very important. And all of this I'm saying, I'm not trained in any of this, by the way. I know it because I've done it. I've sat around in the groups crying with loads of people 4 years ago. Guess what? Those people are still there and they're still just about hanging on by a thread. Here I am. Do you get what I mean? Like, here's my life today. And just see how different, how much better my life is today because I've actually done the things that I'm telling you to do. So try it out. Don't be a victim to trauma. Accept the trauma and be a captain of overcoming your trauma.
Or you can completely deny that there's any area of you that needs healing and improving, reject it, and just weaponize your hurt ego and your hurt inner child to mindlessly and cold-heartedly pursue material success by any means necessary, like a gangster. You can do that. You can put on your shiny armor of shiny clothes and shiny watches and six-packs and being able to fight and all these kinds of things to convince the world that there's nothing wrong with you and no one can see your pain. You actually do have that option, and plenty of people do that at a very high level to achieve all kinds of material shit. However, what you will find is that if you use that as your strategy to navigate life, you cut yourself off from authentic relationships, from people that truly want to connect with you at a soul level and can hold a mirror of accountability to you at a soul level because they expect you to do the same to them. People that will connect you to the divine. I'm talking authentic people that will give you authentic soul growth. And by mindlessly running from your pain and the areas that you know you need to face head on, you're never going to know what it's like to truly connect to your own kids, to your own wife. You're never even going to have these relationships to begin with, because the people that can provide you the best type of soul nourishment, like they want open vulnerability that inspires both respect and love. It's easy to get respect. It's easy to practice something for long enough and then demand that the world recognizes you for how good you are at it. I'm telling you, it's not hard. What is impressive though is someone who has built that respect and that competence and also inspires love as well, that can give freely without even needing to receive anything because they're so internally abundant and at peace with themselves. When you can be that guy, bro, I'm telling you, like, it's a different type of experience you have on reality. So those are your two strategies. One, just completely ignore that there's anything that needs improving. Carry on just being a gangster about it and you're going to live a very shallow existence. Or two, do the work and watch how much better things can still get.
And also realize kintsugi, the cracks in your psyche, the cracks in your emotion, the things that you've been through that make you feel the weakest. When you paint them and fill them in with gold, you will be far more valuable and beautiful and strong and powerful and attractive and wiser than you ever were before. And kintsugi pots are so valuable because of the labor that goes into it to skillfully put those cracks together and paint them in a way that's beautiful. So that's you. Like the journey, it really is the journey that you go through, the overcoming, the way, the path, Bushido, way of the warrior. It's the stuff that people don't see. It's what Muhammad Ali said, the hours of struggle and training that you don't want to do, that no one sees. People only watch a fighter in the fucking 25 minutes that they're on screen. They don't see the fucking 8 weeks going on, the 8 years before that, the amateur competitions to get the experience, the injuries they overcome. There's so much that happens in the background to be a pro fighter, and they only see you when you're standing there with the belt wrapped around your waist and think, oh yeah, he's the man, I want to be like him, I want to be his friend. They haven't even got a clue what goes on in the background. And that is what makes fighters valuable, why they have strong auras, why they have magnetism. Like, he walks into a room with loads of people that haven't done that, you can immediately tell. It's the same thing when you've gone through your journey, when you've gone through your true healing. And it doesn't have to be a fucking fight where you win in front of 100,000 people. It could just be your own personal battle, and it's the fear you're most running from. And I promise you, whether your fear is relatively small compared to someone else's, it doesn't matter. As long as it's big to you and it matters to you and it takes you on a journey and you genuinely have the courage, integrity, loyalty, trust, love in your heart for yourself and for others to be better so that you can be better for them and for God, people will notice that in you. And you don't have to make a big deal out of it. You don't have to turn it into a personal brand or anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can just do it for yourself because it's the right thing to do. And I promise you, you're gonna, like, the world's just going to give you everything you've ever wanted, because the life you most want is on the other side of the fear you're most running from. I can promise you that. Promise.